Hello, beautiful humans. Welcome back to Wild Mind, Rooted Heart. Today's conversation has been growing inside me for a while because I've been realizing I don't think I ever really knew how to dream. Not in the way people would usually mean. People would ask, "Where do you see yourself in 5 years?" And honestly, I didn't. I couldn't. Not because I lacked ambition, not because I was lazy, not because I wasn't smart enough, but because when you are surviving, your brain isn't trying to design next year. It's trying to survive today, this moment. And I don't think we talk about that enough. I think for a long time, I believed someone else had these elaborate visions: dream careers, dream homes, dream relationships, dream vacations, dream bodies, dream futures. Meanwhile, I was just trying to get through Tuesday. That was success to me. Making it through another day without completely falling apart. So when people talked about manifestation or vision boards, it almost felt like they were speaking another language. How do you dream when your nervous system is convinced tomorrow isn't guaranteed? Looking back, I can actually trace so much of my healing journey to one tiny shift. Not how do I become prettier, not how do I lose weight, not how do I finally look enough, but how do I make tomorrow a little easier for future me? That is another question that changed everything for me. Now, don't get me wrong, my relationship with my body has been complicated, to say the least. And honestly, it still is sometimes. Body dysmorphia is such a strange experience. Some days I feel strong. Some days I feel tiny. Some days I feel huge. Some days I genuinely have no idea what I look like. It's almost like looking through different mirrors every day. None of them feel entirely trustworthy, and I've chased so many versions of health. I've been the gym rat. I've pushed myself until I burn out. Mm, I've gotten injured. I've done ketos for years, on, off, back on again, counted carbs, calories, everything, measured progress, focused on appearance. I thought if I could just control my body enough, maybe I'd finally feel okay. But here's the funny thing: the healthier I became mentally, the less obsessed I became with shrinking myself. Because the question eventually became, how do I actually feel inside this body? Not how does this body look to everyone else? Those are completely different questions. And living with chronic pain changes your priorities too. Some mornings, success isn't crushing a workout. Success is moving gently enough that your body trusts you tomorrow. That is wisdom I had to earn. One thing that fascinated me over the last few years is hormones. Learning about seed cycling, learning about cycle syncing your life, learning that women aren't designed to operate like men with a 24-hour hormonal clock. Our hormones ebb and flow across the month. Our energy changes, our creativity changes, our social battery changes, our appetite changes. Even the way we recover changes. And instead of constantly fighting that, what if we actually worked with it? I've seen research suggesting that aligning work, exercise, and even certain habits with different phases of the menstrual cycle may improve energy, productivity, and overall well-being. It's an exciting area of study, though it is still evolving. Even so, simply paying attention to your own patterns can be incredibly powerful. And for me, even just giving myself permission to notice those rhythms has been healing. Because instead of asking, why am I failing? I started asking, wait, what season am I in right now? It feels so much kinder. And ironically, the healthiest I ever consistently ate, the journey that made all of this possible, was when I worked from home because I had time. I could cook, I could move my body throughout the day. I wasn't rushing. I wasn't trying to scarf down lunch in 10 minutes. My nervous system wasn't constantly being pulled in 20 different directions. Coming back to a traditional work environment has reminded me how much our environment influences our habits. Sometimes it isn't just about discipline. Sometimes it's about capacity. Sometimes you're simply trying to survive your day. That doesn't mean you've failed. It means your life has changed. And maybe our systems need to change too. One of the biggest lessons I've learned is that self-care isn't always glamorous. Sometimes self-care is eating something instead of waiting until you're starving. Sometimes it's going to bed. Sometimes it's stretching, saying no. Sometimes it's asking for help. Sometimes it's choosing foods because they make your joints hurt less tomorrow, not because they'll make you look different next month. That's a completely different relationship with your body. It becomes less about control and more about partnership. And I think that's really what healing has become for my life. Partnership. My body isn't the enemy anymore. It's the home that's carried me through every version of my life. Even when it hurts, even when I don't understand it, even when I still struggle to see myself clearly, it deserves compassion, not punishment. And maybe that's what dreaming actually is. Not building some giant perfect life overnight. Maybe dreaming starts much smaller. Maybe it's making dinner tonight because tomorrow you deserves nourishment. Maybe it's stretching because tomorrow you deserves a little less pain. Maybe it's putting $20 into savings because tomorrow you deserves a little peace. Dreaming doesn't always look like castles in the clouds. Sometimes it looks like quietly believing I'm worth preparing for. And that sentence hits me every time because I know I did not believe that for a very long time. I had no idea. I grew up in late 90s, early 2000s, all of that lore of what's kind of coming back around now, and it scares me, but I'm just grateful that there are so many of us that are speaking out about this and that you are so much more than just what you look like. My whole practice has been learning about how I feel, being in tune with my body. I think so many of us, if you've been through a lot of stuff or you've just been prone and programmed to ignore how you're feeling, getting in tune with myself and my body and getting my cycle back and getting it to actually like happen has been so healing and nourishing and eye-opening and life-changing. Understanding someone who understands patterns, right? I see them and then learning to recognize them within myself, not from a place of judgment or criticism, but from a place of love and wanting to understand and better support myself in my partnership with me and my body. Knowing that it is important to move my body to I had a realization the other day. It was like I'd rather be in pain and feel strong than be in pain and just feel like weak and like I can't do anything. So that pushes me to continue to do soft movement. If you're someone who has chronic pain or you're someone who has a lot of injuries or anything like that, slow, soft movements still make a difference and give you progress. You just will be able to continue going instead of going. You push yourself, you're going crazy, and then you're burnt out or you hurt yourself. You pull something. Like, ease your way into it. Learn to tiptoe in like I do before I go and get in the water. It's a beautiful journey. And just looking back on all the different versions of myself, it's really cool to see who I'm becoming now and who I am. And I just so look forward to continuing to learn more and see more and grow and support other people and see how good life can get. Oh, baby. I am someone my whole life I've never really known what I looked like. You know, I witnessed my women in my family just criticize themselves, hate their bodies, like just, and we're so fixated on appearance. And I never really understood it because I was just like, I don't know. I see people differently. always kind of have. Like your appearance, sure, it's cool and it matters or whatever, but like to me, it's not the most interesting thing about you, right? And it's like, and once I get to know you more, your appearance changes in my eyes. So like as I've gotten to see myself differently and from a more of a place of love, like I can recognize and see the beauty that I am. And I feel like that stuff also is what shines through. When I was young, I was put on a medication that made me gain a lot of weight. I remember being so like, I was a zombie. I was depressed. I don't know, I was very, very young. That messed with my head. I thought I realized now, like looking back, that was such a small period of time that I was that heavy that then when I lost the weight and like was older, I still saw myself that way. Looking back on pictures, I'm like, how did I even think and feel that I was like huge? And I'm not shaming like that. I'm just saying like from my experience, like what I felt and saw in the mirror was not what I actually looked like. And in pictures, like looking back, I'm like, oh my gosh, I just again go back and hug me. Tell myself you are so beautiful. That was another thing. I've done a lot of work with affirmations and I guess you could say mirror work in the beginning of all of this. I remember reading bunch of different studies and things to stand in front of the mirror naked. I think it was Megan Trainor too that talked about that. After she had a baby. Either way, I remember hearing about that. And I was someone who always kind of talked to myself looking in the mirror. I worked in a restaurant for a long time and I had anxiety about talking to people and being around a lot of people, but I also like loved it. So before I would go in, I would just look in my mirror in the car and just have a pep talk with myself. And then I stopped doing that for a long time because I didn't want to look at myself. I didn't like it. I just was like, ugh. And then I did that. I looked in the mirror, just looked at my body. It's a process, it takes time. But over time, I went from, oh, I hate that about me, to, oh, you know what? That's actually kind of cute. I like that I look different or my body's like this. And oh, that's what we're looking like today. Okay, let's see how we look like tomorrow or a week from now. Like just admiring myself more than just looking to critique. Because again, I do know if there's something I want to change about myself, I'm learning now that it's okay to do that. It's okay to want to like how I look and feel better in my body than I have. But I also know that it's okay for how I am right now. Like I prioritize health over the standard or the beauty of being skinny, of being commercialized, maybe is another term. Like that's not me. And I don't want that. I had a breast reduction when I was around 20, I think it was 24, 25. And that was a big whirlwind too. I had to see how I see myself. Because I remember I would look in the mirror and I would have this like weird shifting where because I remember where I worked at the time, there was this really big mirror on the wall. And I would just catch myself looking and being like, wait, is that what I look like? Is that not like, oh, which is, it's like, which is it? And the thing is, I think too, you get to choose. You get to choose the language you use to talk about yourself, the language that you use to see yourself. I didn't realize that we could do that. And that's why the internal work is so important and the internal monologue you have in your brain is so important. I mean, again, talking about my breast reduction, I was someone who in like fourth, fifth grade, it's again, looking back, I'm like, I didn't have that big of boobs, but it was such a thing and people just talked about it. And that became a big part of my identity. And when I chose to get the reduction, it was to help with pain and neck pain and stuff that I was having. Because again, I had back surgery when I was a teenager. Most of my spine has a rod and like a bunch of screws and stuff in there. And just again, seeing myself differently and like feeling weak made me look at myself differently too. Yoga's always been a part of my life, on and off. It's supported me in so many ways in my mind and body. The mind body connection is so important. But yeah, that became such a part of like my identity. Like I was literally known as the girl with the big titties. Okay. It's just crazy how that just became an identity. Like literally people knew me like because of that. And never got to like see me. So then when I had my reduction, I was like, oh my, I was actually kind of put in a state of who the hell am I without that, without them? Like, then that sounds crazy to talk about, but who am I actually without that being a major part of my identity? I don't know. And that also started on this whole journey. And I remember how many people, and especially men, when I was like posting about it, my decision and how I was going back and forth. Oh, why would you do that? And then even afterwards, when people like, when if I was dating and they like found out, they're like, oh, what were they like before? And like, do you have a picture? Can I see? Like, and then like, I don't know. I'm just like, who am I now? That's what matters. Like, can you just see me, not my body? You know, it's a journey I've been going through too, because I struggled to receive physical like compliments, especially too, because I'm just like, great, all they see is my appearance. All they care about is that. Like, what if that change? Like, because I know how much I change and I evolve, and how I see myself changes. But that doesn't mean everyone else, the way that they see you changes. But it's, again, it's just so complex. And now I'm like, it's okay to accept and receive physical compliments. It doesn't always just mean that's all they care about. But for a long time, that's what I was conditioned, very young, heard from way too old of people when my mom worked at a bar, of being like, "Ooh, I can't wait till you're 18." And I'm like 10 years old. Like, "Ooh, damn, like you're so whatever." And like, just again hearing that. And then I remember being at a job right around when I turned 18, the amount of people that said things, and just again other things that happened and whatever. It's been a journey. I'm happy with my choice of getting a reduction, and I know of so many other people now that have had one, and they're happy too. And it's like, how funny. I do remember going in there though and saying, please don't take them all off. I was like, I do like having them. I don't want them this big, and I don't whatever. And I remember coming out of the surgery, and when I woke up, I looked down because you're like wrapped and it's like there's like nothing there. And I remember the nurse was like, I looked at her, I go, where'd they go? Are they all gone? And she was like, no, honey. She's like, honey, they will fill out. She's like, don't worry. Because I had like just made jokes and confirmed before I went under. Like, because I was like, I want a full C. You know, like that's what I want. It would fit my body right. Like it would look okay. It would be just enough, but not too much, whatever. And I did lose a lot of weight actually after, because I was able to work out. I was able, like once I was cleared and everything and went through my recovery, I was able to go back to working out. And I just was like, all right, we're going to tackle my health and do this. And then again, life just did its thing as life does. But here we are now. It brought me to another level and layer of self acceptance and seeing myself and learning to care about my future self. That was a big thing. Like, I just really wasn't able to do that for so long. And I didn't know how to explain that to people when they're like, you don't have a plan. And I'm just like, something else too is like, you can plan all you want. Right. Like I would low key not share anything, but I would sometimes in like little pockets that I had be like, when I'm this age, what do I think I'm going to what is life going to be like if I make it there? I didn't have those thoughts very often, but I did have them sometimes. And around the time when I was going to turn 30, which I never thought that I would even make it to that point, like 30 was my cutoff. I mean, my mom had, I believe, a stroke before or around when she was 30. I remember that. And it's just, again, seeing things, and I'm like recognizing how much trauma affects your body and how much nervous system regulation affects things. Seeing myself experience a lot of things when I would be in situations where I was so heightened, and seeing the women in my family just like hate their bodies and hate themselves. And I'm like, you're beautiful. I would always be so confused when people would just criticize. I'm like, I don't see that. And then you start to see it's just be mindful of what you say and how you say it around people, especially kids. It's okay to sometimes be like, oh, I just don't feel great today. But like, I don't know. We're all beautiful in our own ways. And I fully believe that. My reduction was a big turning point. and learning that I have value aside from just what I look like. But also not that I have to shun what I look like, Like I still like to doll myself up and get cute, and I'm learning to find what my style is these days and how I want to visually express myself. And knowing that I'm all about comfort at the end of the day. Like I want to be comfortable, but it's also okay to be comfortable and look cute. So finding the balance in this journey has been very cool. And learning to dream and learning how different dreaming is for everybody is very cool. And just letting things unfold as well, and switching the mindset from survival to being present and gratitude, and allowing myself to feel inspired and be inspirational and hopeful and embrace my wild mind. So if you're listening today and you've never really had dreams, or maybe they felt impossible, or if survival stole your imagination, I just want you to know you don't have to build an entire future tonight. Just do one thing, one tiny thing that your future self will quietly thank you for. If that's setting a timer and starting to wash dishes that have piled up in your sink for 10 minutes, or putting laundry away that's just been sitting in a basket. Timers are also very helpful if you have ADHD. When I don't want to walk on my walking pad, I'll set like a 10-minute timer. 9 times out of 10, you go longer. You keep going, you know? But it's just showing your brain that and rewiring and training that, those sort of things. But maybe that is where hope begins. Not in giant leaps, but in tiny love letters. Written from today's you to tomorrow's you. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. If this episode resonated with you, I would love to hear, what is one small thing you're doing for your future self this week? Share it with me here or on social media. Leave a comment wherever you're listening. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear. Oh, and if you're enjoying these conversations, be sure to follow or subscribe so this little community can keep growing together, and share this episode with someone who might need the reminder that they are worth caring for. Until next time, stay wild, stay rooted, and remember, you don't have to earn the right to care for yourself. Every gentle choice you make today is another seed planted for the person you are still becoming.